In today's episode, we're exploring the art of blending decor styles with your partner and how to navigate the disruptions a renovation can have on your life and relationship. Whether you're embarking on your own home makeover journey or simply seeking to harmonize your design tastes with your partner, this episode is a must listen. I'm sharing practical tips and strategies to ensure your home transformation journey is as smooth and stylish as possible, plus helping Erika, Nathalie, and Julie with their own home design dilemmas and offering personalized advice in hopes to help you if you're facing similar challenges. Hello guys, welcome back to the With My Own Two Hands podcast. I'm changing it up. We're in a different room. I figured it was only fitting that we do this episode from the middle of our kitchen renovation. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you can see that I am sitting in a room that is to the stage of just having drywall up. It's not painted. There's no cabinetry. There's nothing in it. There's no oven. There's no sink. There's no faucet because we have been renovating our kitchen like in an extreme way. We have taken it down to the studs. We have broken down walls. We have totally changed the floor plan. Everything, truly everything. But, you know, it wouldn't be me if I didn't keep everything that I possibly could in a space, like the windows and the door, the patio door, and, you know, some things. And we're bringing lots of character back into the space. But I felt like it was only fitting that we do this episode in this room because we have been in renovations for about a month and a half now. A month and a half to actually putting a hammer to it. You know, I've been thinking about this renovation for over a year and a half now since we actually purchased this home and moved in, and we've really gotten to live with the space. So if you missed episode 1 of season 2, when we came back, I talked all about the kitchen renovation, why we're doing it, why we chose to do it at the time that we did. So definitely go check that out. We are very much getting close to our baby boy being born. Definitely a project that we wanted to tackle before he came because I just could not imagine going through a renovation with a toddler. Like it would be years. So go check out that video. And we really went into the renovation with a solid plan. So we worked through all of our must-haves for the space. We worked through what we both wanted out of the renovation, what we felt like was lacking for the both of us. I obviously am not the cook chef in the family. He was a chef for a long time. So I let him cook. He's good at it. I'm good at other things like building things, you know? So he obviously utilized the kitchen so much and he knew really what it was lacking more so than I did. We also blended the design elements that we both wanted out of the space and both of our styles before entering demo phase, before starting construction. And we also determined a comfortable budget for us. You know, what were we willing to really put into this kitchen renovation? What was smart for the house? What was smart for adding value to the house, but also what worked in our budget? You know, compromised on some things that we, you know, dream things that we might not have been able to get, but you know, like with a bigger budget, and you know, you can get anything you want. But you know, what could we do without? But how could we set a proper budget that would get us the majority of what we wanted in a really beautiful and functional kitchen? So we did all of that before we ever had a contractor come in and look at the space, before we ever started demo. And we also had a very long talk with each other about the impact that a renovation was going to have on our lives. You know, because living through a renovation is different than renovating a house you're not living in. Truly, it's a different animal. It affects everything in your life, and this is not the first time that we've done this. So we knew going into another renovation of any kind in a home that we were living in, it was going to be disruptive. because we lived in the cottage while we were renovating it as well for a portion of it. Now, the cottage is still very much going through renovations. It's a small cottage that we have close to my parents that we bought during the pandemic. I've been renovating it with my own two hands, but we took a slight pause because of the baby. So I really want to finish that project on my own. So we paused that for now. But we lived through that renovation. We were in the house physically while there's hammers everywhere and dust and things. And it's disruptive, to say the least. So renovating really has two types of stresses that it puts on a relationship. The first being the blending of your design styles, the compromising. How are you going to compromise and both get what you want out of it? And also the actual disruption of your lives through the process itself, through the renovation period itself. So in this episode, I hope to make it a lot better. I hope to provide some insight based on being through this experience before, that if you're thinking about going into a renovation, how to get what you want and blend the styles between you and your partner so that you can get both. You can both feel good about getting what you want. And ways that we've dealt with living through a renovation and things that have really worked for us and our relationship without wanting to completely pull our hair out and fight with each other all the time about dumb stuff because we're just frustrated. So first I want to talk about blending design styles. And it is so rare that both you and your partner are going to like the same things in life, in food, in everything, including design. It's very rare. One of you is always going to want to do something different, and some partners are going to care more than others. So I've always cared a lot more about design than Romeo has. It's always worked really well for us. For me, I've always just been the one that it's my thing, and he's always taken a back seat to it. But I will say, more recently, with the nursery, we designed our baby's nursery in February, and that space, and also in the kitchen, Romeo, and now we've been together for 15 years, so this has been a long time where he has not cared. And now all of a sudden, with these two projects, he's cared a lot. He's had a little bit of an opinion. He's always had great design taste. When I ask him questions, he's always given me like a solid answer. I've always really valued that about our relationship and about him. But it was always with a breath of like, oh, well, I would do this. I think that this looks good, but you do what you want. Like, I think whatever you choose is going to look great. That was always his attitude towards it, right? And so now going into these two projects, he cares a lot more. So it's been a little bit more difficult. And I think I've finally really gotten to see what you guys have always kind of like told me, is like my husband or my partner really doesn't like this, so I can't do that. And I was like, man, I'm so happy that Romeo just kind of lets me do my own thing kind of thing. But it has been a little different for me through these projects. It's also been hard because this is my job, and this is kind of like my personal expression of my own style, and that I share with you guys on YouTube through my videos for renovation and stuff. So it's been a little tricky, but it's also really made me look at it from a point of view of designing with intention for both of us, and in designing with like really putting like the functionality above the pretty kind of thing in a lot of ways, and just actually made me a better designer, I feel like, with the challenge of trying to blend the styles and make everybody happy in this that lives in the same house. So can't disregard that he lives here too, and I can't disregard this is an investment that we're both doing together, and I can't disregard that he is the cook, so I might as well give the cook what he wants in his kitchen, so I have figured out ways to compromise and get us both what we want. So designing a space together is really about compromise and blending the styles and figuring out how you can both get what you want in your home, at least the things that are most important, like at least those top level things that are really, really, really important to you. And Romeo and I's design styles are somewhat similar. We both really love like moody, vintage vibes with like character, like we tend to kind of walk in the same design lane, if you will. But there are major things that we differ on. So for one, I love old things. I would prefer something antique that doesn't function very well over something new and functional. I think it adds character. The older the better. Good quality, but I'm more willing to compromise on some things because it's antique or because I love the aesthetic of it being old. I also tend to lend a little more feminine, for like florals and art and things. I tend to like more feminine patterns, and he doesn't. Obviously, he could deal without the florals. He could deal without the bird prints, so to speak. I tend to like things that are a little more cluttered. I like more. I think more is better. And he is more edited. He likes things less. He does not think that we should have anything on the counters in the kitchen at all, not a single piece of decor. He wants everything to be fully functional. And I'm like, okay, give me a corner. You know what I mean? Like let me decorate this little patch kind of thing. I tend to love moody, antique French art, and he gravitates more towards modern art, like modern, unusual pieces. I mean, he would literally bring a life-size alien into our home if he could and call it art. And to some, that is art. Art is subjective. He did look at a life-size, and I say that specifically because he looked at a life-size alien at the flea market one time, and I was like, please tell me you're not looking at that alien. Please tell me you're not looking at that alien. But there have been some ways that we've compromised on this. He has his own office. Kind of think of it like a man cave. And he can do whatever he wants in that office. I have no say. I don't want to have a say. I want him to do whatever he wants. But I get the rest of the house. And it really works really well for me. It works really well for us. He has his oasis. He can put anything, any kind of art on display. I get to decorate the rest of the house because I obviously work from our house too. And it is an expression of my own style. It's the compromise that we've really come to work really well for us. But when it comes to the kitchen, we have had to blend those things together. It's been challenging, but I think we figured it out. So these are the things that have really worked for us. And I feel like if you take these tips and really sit down with your partner and figure these things out, you're going to be able to have such a better conversation about what you love about your style, what you want from it, what your must-haves are, all of it, and really come to a good place about whatever you're going to be designing or about a renovation. So the first thing that I would recommend doing is each of you make a list of why you like the style you like. And maybe you don't really know what the style is called. Maybe you don't really know what the details of it are. And maybe it'll take a little bit of research. But if Romeo comes to me and he says, I love modern design, I'm like, okay, well, what do you like about it? So what are the things that come to mind when you think modern design? And vice versa for me. I love French Provençal and antique and vintage. What do I like about it? What are the highlight reels of it? Make a top 3. These are the top 3 things that I like about this particular style, whether it's traditional or modern or French Provençal, etc. Anything and everything. It could be a color palette. It could be the way it makes you feel. It could be a certain way or a certain look to the furniture. Maybe you really like how the furniture, for mid-century modern, maybe you really like mid-century modern furniture. And maybe that specifically is you love the pegged legs or something like that. Get specific with what about that style you really, really like. And if you can't pinpoint, if that's too broad and you can't pinpoint 3 things about the particular style that you like, list 3 things that are your must-haves in the space in that style that fit that style. So for example, let's take a bedroom for say, and your style, maybe your style is like mine. Like maybe you love antique and vintage and like maybe like a little bit of a French design, Victorian, you sit in that realm. And maybe your partner is more modern. So let's go with those two opposing styles and I'll kind of give you some examples. So let's say for you, in your style, you like warm wall colors. Like you really want the walls to be warm. Like you like me, you don't like white walls. Okay, like that could be like a must-have for you that fits your design style. And the second thing that's your must-have, like maybe you love decorative trim because that fits your style. Our style has more of a decorative, detailed feature to it, and trim is a great way to do that. So maybe that's your second must-have. And maybe your third is a statement headboard that has more movement, that fits more of the character that really lends to our style. So maybe those are your top three. You want warm walls, you want decorative trim, and you want a statement headboard with movement in the shape, And so for your partner, he's more modern, so he wants minimal decor. He didn't want a lot of stuff everywhere, so he wants to keep it more edited, more clean. And since he likes more modern, maybe he loves the look of like a low platform bed. Maybe he wants the bed to sit lower because that offers a more, like modern look. When you think of like Victorian beds, you think they're kind of high. You know what I mean? So maybe modern, like he likes that low profile. And maybe he's like, without a doubt, he needs a TV in your bedroom. He needs the built-in TV, So where I lend to like not wanting a TV in the bedroom, so to speak, maybe he's like, no, it's a must-have. Those are the three things. And then you have something to work with. You've got specific things that you can list out, that you can incorporate all of those things into design to make them work. He didn't care about the wall color, so let's go with a warm wall color. You're gonna add decorative trim to the wall that you're gonna paint, but you're gonna keep it on the minimal side. You're not going to overdo it. You're going to keep it a little bit lighter. He wants not a lot of clutter. He doesn't want a lot of stuff around. He wants minimal decor. So be really intentional with the decor pieces that you pick. And he wants a low platform, like maybe king bed, low platform, but then you can put like a prettier decorative headboard to that platform bed so that you both get what you want. And you're going to build in the TV, but you're going to put trim around it. So you each got what you want, but you blended the two together. So I hope that made sense. I hope that example was good enough. So for our kitchen renovation, Romeo's must-haves were really more functional in nature, more about the appliances. So he wanted more counter space for prepping food. That was a really big must-have. He does not want me to clutter the counter space with lots of decor. So that meant I needed even more counter space because I would need some decorative features. I need something on the counters. I'm not going to fill it up, but I need a space. It also meant that we needed more storage so that we can get our appliances off the counter so they stop taking up room. He really, really, really wanted a larger size oven because we like to have holidays here and he loves to cook, and just with what we had, it wasn't working for him. So he really wanted a 48-inch range and oven. And he loved the same fridge that we did in the cottage. So we were like, okay, we're going to do the same fridge here. And he wanted a built-in trash can. He did not want to see the trash can hit. The trash can is a pet peeve for Romeo. He's like, oh, I hate seeing it. So we're building in the trash can. My must-haves for the kitchen was lighting. I am a stickler for lighting. I wanted to optimize natural light. I wanted to optimize not natural light, with recessed lighting and light fixtures and things. Lighting was big, 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 big for me. I also wanted to keep the integrity of the era of the house when it was built and the style. I wanted it to, be cohesive and really work with the rest of the house. So I really wanted to have an eat-in kitchen. So I opted for my must-have to be having a dining room table, not an island. So that was a must-have for me. I think that, islands were a later development. They were really introduced in the 50s. This house was built in the 30s. They didn't have islands back then. You saw more eat-in kitchens. And I just thought for our family and for the spaces that we had available in our house, we were going to really utilize a dining room table in the kitchen. We were going to spend so much more time in the space. So that was big for me. I also wanted loads of character. So I wanted to bring in some, powerful pieces into the design that really gave it that character, like crown molding, some decorative corbels for our hood, have a really beautiful designed hood. I wanted, the dining room table to be from France and old. I want everything old. I just wanted to have loads of character, and I feel like I get that more in old stuff. A must-have for me was stone countertops. In our kitchen before, we had a tile countertop with grout, like thick grout. I hated cleaning it. I hated just its overall situation. I didn't like it. I wanted pretty stone. I wanted to go pick our stone for our countertops. And I wanted a very pretty cabinetry that was built in, that had glass doors that I could display and put all of my pretty dishes, because I have really pretty dishes and nowhere to put them. And I wanted the storage. I wanted that. So those were our must-haves. And once we listed them all out, we could actually visualize them and see them on paper. It's like, okay, this we can work with. This is what, these are our must-haves. And we really didn't fight at all. Like there weren't opposing things that we wanted. He didn't come back and be like, no, we have to have an island. And I was like, no, I want a dining room table. I want an eating kitchen. We were really able to see that this was really going to be an easy process for us. So sometimes breaking it down like that and not thinking about the style or not thinking too broad really helps you to just visualize the whole process, focus on what is necessary, focus on your must-haves, and ultimately compromise and get what you want. So in addition to making those lists, I would also recommend each of you getting inspiration photos, because I feel like the best things that you can do is see it, maybe see someone do something that you like. Like I looked for inspiration photos specifically for eating kitchens so that I could visualize and see what it would be like to have a dining room table in the kitchen. So I looked for inspiration like that, and I could show that to him, and he goes, oh, I see what you mean. That's really nice, because it can double as countertop space too. It's just a little lower, so I was able to show what I meant. He was able to show what he meant when he liked something. So that can really help you make the lists as well. So now let's talk about living in a renovation. Literally living in a house that's being renovated. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is rough. And Romeo and I really had to sit down and have a talk with one another, because we've been through this before. We know what this is like. We have to come to the realization that we are not going to have a kitchen for at least 3 months. Right? So we're going to have to eat out every day. Even if we do cook at home, or kind of like in the microwave or the toaster oven that we have in our living room now, our living room is our kitchen now, we don't have anywhere to wash it. We would have to wash dishes in our sinks in the bathroom. We're going to have to eat out almost every meal. Our living room is going to be very cluttered with lots of stuff, because we packed up all the stuff from the kitchen that was in the kitchen cabinets and moved it to store it in our living room. And we did the best that we could. We put it onto shelves and we organized it, but some stuff just had to go into bins and stuff. Luckily, we have a space that's not like kind of directly in any walkways or anything that we could put all of this stuff in. So that was definitely lucky, but it's still really, really cluttered. It's going to be loud and disruptive for our work. We both work at home, and we're going to be doing major construction in a portion of our house. Like, if there's no way around it. I mean, they have to make noise to demo your space and to nail new beams up and install things, so it's going to be disruptive. Our dog is going to bark like crazy because she's got strangers in her house. She's got loud noise happening. She's not used to it. It's going to be constant, you know what I mean? So it's disruptive for her as well, but like that noise added on to the construction noise added on, it's just a lot. It's a big undertaking. There are also going to be days that we don't have power or water or hot water like gas because they're going to be working on it. They've got to run new wires. They've got to run new pipes and things for our, like the sink and the refrigerator. They're going to be doing lots of electrical work, and there are going to be times when certain rooms don't work and we're going to have internet down. Things like that. It's disruptive. And to top it all off, there is a huge possibility that we're doing this process and we might not finish the renovation by the time our baby comes. What if he's early? What if we just don't finish on time and he comes right when he's supposed to? There's just so many variables, so many things that happen, and it's just overall disruptive in your life. And what we had to do was agree that if we were going to start this renovation, we were going to go with the flow. We were going to figure it out as a team. We weren't going to jump down each other's throats. We were going to accept that this is the situation that we chose to be in, period. If it's loud some days, and we need to work or we need internet access and we don't have it, the power's out or something like that, we'll go to a coffee shop and work, or we'll get out of the house. We'll take a moment, just away from the house. If we have no hot water one day, which happened to us, just one day, actually it's kind of crazy that the natural gas has a sensor on it that here in California, if it feels tremors, it thinks it's an earthquake, and it actually has a shutoff. So it protects itself, and it protects, from leaks and things like that. So it actually has a shutoff that's a safety measure. Well, they were doing so much construction and so much demo that they actually triggered it to read that it was a tremor from an earthquake. So they didn't mess with the gas, but they didn't know that it had tripped it like that until we had ran out of hot water in our hot water tank. And we didn't have any hot water. So like on days where we don't have hot water, we would have to go to Romeo's mom's house to shower. And that's okay. We will figure that out. That's not a huge inconvenience. And if we're not finished with the kitchen renovation by the time the baby comes, we're just going to figure it out. As a team, we're not going to get frustrated. We'll just figure it out. If we're finishing the house here, maybe we have to stay in an Airbnb or a hotel. I don't know. I truly, but we're going to cross that bridge when it happens. And so we really, really had to sit down and agree that this was the right thing to do at this time for our family, and we were going to do it, and we weren't going to look back. But now that we're a month and a half into this process, there have been a few instances where one of us has gotten, kind of frustrated, but I think the majority of the frustration has come from what we're going to eat. Oh my gosh, we ask each other this every meal for every day. It's the most obnoxious thing to where we end up having little mini arguments about like, I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. I picked yesterday. What do you want to eat? You decide. I'll eat anything that you want. And then we get frustrated at each other because we have to eat out all the time. We just can't go into the kitchen and whip something up with whatever ingredients we have, or, just make something. That has been the most frustrating thing, is just like not being able to like cook or whatever. And we just like don't know what to eat all the time. We're very indecisive. So has it been easy? No. Is it doable? Yes, it is. We just have to remind ourselves and keep our eye on the end goal. And the end goal is really to have a beautiful, more functional kitchen that we can utilize this entire space instead of there being so much dead area that we don't use, that we're going to have a proper place to eat, a proper dining room table, that we can, teach our son how to eat from plates and things. And we can stop eating every meal at our coffee table in front of the TV. And when we focus on those things, and we focus on the fact that we are increasing our property value too, and kitchens are an incredible investment, so this was the right move. And the fact that, just for me, like on a personal note, on a work note, You guys, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know I love my projects and I love to work on renovating rooms and making over rooms. I was pretty not scared, but in some ways I was a little bit sad because it was the unknown of getting pregnant and knowing that I couldn't do a lot of the things that I was used to doing, like using power tools and using, certain, I don't know, even like stripping things and chemicals and things like that. There were certain precautions that I must take because I was pregnant that I thought I was going to have to stop creating and stop working on rooms. And that's my passion and I love to do it. But obviously this baby comes first and this is more important than that. So it was just temporary. But through this renovation, it's really given me life and it's really given me something super fun and constructive to put my energy into. So for me, on a personal note, this has been so much fun that I don't mind the kitchen being in our living room, that I don't mind the noise. I actually like the noise because it's the sounds of things happening. We have been really lucky that we've gotten a great contractor. But also it wouldn't be moving as fast as we are if we hadn't done the pre-work, right? The work before we ever called the contractor, before we ever did anything. We did our part to make sure that we were minimizing this time that we were out of a kitchen and that we were going through a renovation. So there are definitely things that you should do and you can do to minimize all these frustrations and the disruption of your lives. You want to do the most you possibly can in the design and planning phase so you can really hit the ground running and minimize the time that you're renovating. So one, figure out the design that you want. Feel confident in it. Go into the construction phase and go into the process really having a good grasp on blending your styles, your must-haves, knowing what you want, do your research, get your inspiration, have everything done beforehand while there's no one in your house. Number two, you want to order what you need to order on time. There is a lot that goes in specifically to like kitchens and bathrooms. There's so much that goes into it that you need, right? So for kitchens, you need appliances, you need hardware, you need countertops, you need flooring, you need all of these things. So you really want to make sure that you're ordering them within enough time for those materials to get to you so that you're not waiting on material and slowing down the process. You know what I mean? The third thing is you really want to be super attentive to your contractor, to your subcontractor, anyone that's here, and make yourself available. You want to make sure that you're available to answer questions. If they run into hiccups, you need to make be around, be available, answer the phone every time they call, because you have to be active in the renovation. When you're renovating, you have to be active in it. And the quicker that you can respond, the quicker they can move on and the quicker they can get things done and you don't delay the process. You need to be able to make decisions quickly. I know it's hard because sometimes you need to sit with it, and maybe that doesn't mean like right on the spot, but take the night, assess it, figure out what the best decision for you and your family is, and make it. And don't hesitate as much. So that can be really difficult, but the faster that you can make decisions, the better the renovation is going to run. And finally, pay on time. When you're going through a renovation and you have like a budget that's set, your contractor will take what they call draws. And usually they're at the beginning of each phase of the renovation. So you pay a draw, a certain amount of your overall budget, a smaller piece. It's not all due up front. I've always worked on it as a draw kind of like portion. So it's like you pay over like 9 payments or 8 or 9 payments, something like that. So when they start demo phase, they'll take a draw. You'll write a check. When they start drywall, when they start your cabinetry, when you'll go through steps like that and you'll pay. And if you pay on time, they will do good work for you. They will keep it moving. Hopefully you get a good contractor. But if you do those things, you figure out what you want, you order what you need on time, you're super attentive, you make decisions quickly, and you pay them on time, you can really get through a renovation really quickly, like I've shown through this process. And you're just going to have a good experience with it. You know what I mean? Like you're just going to have an overall good experience. Now, hopefully that same respect is reciprocated from the people that are working on your project for you. But if you know at the end of the day, you're doing everything that you possibly can, you're going to have a more enjoyable experience, and you're going to know that you're going into it with the right intention. So I hope that gives you a good kind of grasp or idea about how to blend your styles and really get through a renovation with your partner, and it gave you some tips. So we have some dilemmas that you guys sent in, and I always have the form linked in the description box or the show notes. So if you're listening, you can submit your own design dilemma. A couple of people that sent in design dilemmas specifically around blending styles, everything that we've been talking about. Erika says, we are buying a new house in Chile. It is pretty, but some details are just not the best quality. It has a big kitchen, which was one of the things I loved. However, it doesn't feel warm like a home. The pictures I'm attaching are from the staged house. Oh, so it has all of like the staged elements, like the decor and things. We haven't moved in yet. My husband likes a modern style, and I like more of a traditional approach. Okay, so here's her kitchen, and you can see all the staged elements like the dining room table and the art. Everything else is pretty stationary to the house. It's a nice kitchen. It has a lot of storage. So we need to balance modern and traditional. And I would say this kitchen already leans modern. It already has super modern cabinets. The profile, there's no profile on the cabinetry. It's just a smooth cabinet. It has some silver hardware that looks pretty modern. The floors are pretty modern. I'd say it's just super sleek and clean. So the cabinetry is pretty dark. It looks like more of a walnut colored wood, and then it's got some contrast in the doors. It's more of a orangey wood in the doors going out to maybe the living room. I'd say overall you've already got the modern. It's already there. So I guess what we need to do is add more of a kind of traditional element to it. And traditional design really values history to create like really timeless spaces. So maybe if there's any details that you can pull from the rest of the house or the exterior or the area in Chile that you're in, any local architecture that you can pull in, I'd start to pay attention to those types of things, which we talked about in the last episode too. I can't tell from the photos the quality of the finishes at all. I can't tell if they're poor, but you're saying that they're not great quality. Maybe that's in the cabinetry or the hardware. I would definitely change out the light fixtures. I have a specific name for those light fixtures that I won't say on camera, but that's what they are. They don't offer anything for the space. They're just kind of there. I don't know if it even puts off enough light for the space, but that could be definitely a place that you can bring in a more traditional look to it. So you've already got the modern cabinets. You might as well try and bring in a little bit of something in the lighting. I know that this is the staged dining room table. So whatever dining room table you can bring in, that could also be more traditional in shape. And I would put a rug under the dining room table. That's going to give you that warmth that you're lacking. There's a window over the sink, and that's a great place to add more warmth too. You can add like a Roman shade or some curtains, to that to warm it up, to kind of cut through all that modern, cold, slick look. And there's this big blank space over the side cabinetry, like the countertop. They have 3 pieces of large art there that are really modern. Bringing in art, or if you feel like you want more decorative features or add something other than art, you could put like some floating shelves there. Or like partial floating shelves, part art. You could do like smaller ones or something there. That could be kind of a cool detail to kind of like add something. The backsplash doesn't do anything for me. Like it just looks white tile. Like it's kind of just like disappears. Updating the tile could be a really cool place to do something interesting. And where's the oven? Let me see. Oh, I see. Oh, Okay, I don't know if over the range, the cooktop, there's like the hood obviously, but it looks like it's a cabinet. There's a handle. I mean, this could be like a DIY project or you could do something, but it's already an inset hood. You could make a better hood there. That could be cool. I don't know if that would help break up all that cabinetry and give you something extra there, but that could be a really cool spot to do something in. But I feel like overall it's a great space. It needs a little help. You're right. It's already got that modernness and the flow and the floor plan. It's nice. You've got tons of storage. So if the quality of the items are lacking, maybe it's the hardware or something like that. I don't know if updating the flooring is something that you even want to tackle or if that's even where the quality is lacking. But I think with a pretty rug, you could get rid of it. Like you could hide pretty much all of it. Not all of it, but you could cover a good portion of it and have a really pretty table, put you some lighting, add some window treatments, and do something where that modern art is right now. I really like it. It's got potential for sure. Okay, so our next dilemma is from Nathalie. And she says, me and my partner really have different interior design styles, and I'm thinking a lot about how to combine them so we are both happy, but it's really hard. I bought my house before we met and have renovated it to be pretty traditional Swedish turn-of-the-century style with lots of vintage pieces, different flower wallpapers, and colors on the wall. Although lately I've been leaning more towards Victorian and light dark academia, and I love your interior style. So we have a similar style. Okay. My partner recently started building furniture and he wants to build mid-century modern or rustic farmhouse style pieces, which I simply can't see how would fit in with my existing traditional decor. We also dream of building a log cabin where his rustic woodwork would be great, but I'm afraid my love for antiques and more classic style will not fit, and I wouldn't be able to make our home feel like mine. How do we merge so different styles? And then she sent in 2 pictures. The first picture was her current dining room, but she says, like I mentioned, I would love to move more towards moody Victorian. And the second is how my partner wants our house to look, and also the vibe of his furniture. So to be honest, when I looked at your pictures, I was like, oh my, I don't know. It took me a minute to kind of wrap my head around it and wrap my head around okay, we've got Victorian working on one hand, and then this rustic log cabin kind of working on the other. So just out of curiosity, I just used some big keywords and I went to Pinterest and I typed in rustic Victorian log cabin just to see if anyone had done it. just to see, just to throw it out there. Cause every process really starts with inspiration, right? So I really start on Pinterest or just looking for things that I love. And what came up is really pretty. It is literally Victorian moody log cabin. Look at this one, attractive log cabins. It's got the Swedish style, kind of pot-belly fireplace. When I think Swedish, I think of those freestanding fireplaces. It's got a Victorian rug. It's got some moodier wall paint that we would put in our style. I can't see much of the rest of the room, but this feels like a blend of kind of what you're talking about. And that was just the first picture. I kept going and I saw more Victorian furniture, but in this more, log cabin. So in terms of his furniture that he's building, I don't know what pieces he's kind of starting with. Maybe he's starting with coffee tables and dining room tables and things. At least that's how I kind of started, more with tables. Maybe there's a way to incorporate that kind of table, like a coffee table, and mix it in with more Victorian style other furniture, like chairs or the legs on the couch, or maybe a slip covered couch that has some prettier pillows. And I feel like you could do a lot that we haven't even explored yet. I've never thought to mix those 2 styles together. Kind of intriguing to me, to be honest. Let me go back to your pictures. I feel like there are elements in each style that are like prevalent in both of them. You know, like let's say like his picture that he loves, like he needs to decide what about this picture that he really does love instead of just the overall vibe. I would recommend. So if he can pinpoint specific things, like does he love the stone? Does he love all the wood in it, you know, like heavy on the wood, that color wood? Or does he love like the leather furniture? You know, like what in it in this picture does he absolutely love? Because those individual elements can totally be incorporated into Victorian design and still work. It just won't be this whole look. You know, it will be a mix and a blend, and that's where the compromise comes in. But stone, you can totally incorporate some kind of stone. Maybe not this more like, I call it giraffe stone, and I know that that's not true, but it looks like giraffe spots to me. You know, you can incorporate stone into your Victorian design, maybe behind the fireplace or something like that. You can incorporate the warmer wood tones, but even in the inspiration picture, there's at least a more like Persian or Turkish rug, you know, that lends more Victorian that we can kind of like grab onto. Both of you guys, if you can pull out your must-haves, what you love about each style, and kind of go through the steps that I've covered in this podcast episode and like try and figure out if you can blend them. You know, I feel like it can be done. So I'm giving you the confidence that it can be done without having all the answers right in front of me. But I think it could be pretty cool. So maybe I'm empowering you to like, yeah, I think it could work. But I'd love to see it. Like, keep me updated because I would love to see how you guys blend them together. Okay, our next dilemma is from Julie. She said, my family moved into our first home in 2022. We have a living room / dining room that I am having trouble envisioning the design for. This is the first room you see when you enter the house. We purchased a new couch, dining room chairs, and put up some floating shelves and photos since we moved in, but it still feels like a white box. We are hoping to change out the blinds and ceiling fan eventually, but I would love some help to make the space more cozy and warm without feeling cluttered or heavy. I find it really challenging since I'm working with limited and multi-purpose spaces. I still want the room to have a lightness to it. I will add that my husband is very against a round dining room table, which is usually the recommendation for smaller spaces. We also have a 2-year-old, and this area is a very much yes space for him. Okay, so he spends a lot of time there. I'm really cautious about what decor, plants, etc. I bring into the house because my son loves to get into everything. And of course, living in California, there's always the potential of an earthquake. So here are her pictures. So it really is a tight space. So I see how you're having, trouble kind of making it all work. You've already designated the areas, which is a huge step in the right direction. So right when you walk in the door, you're in kind of like a walk through portion of the living room to like other parts of the house. And then they've got a couch with the dining room table behind it with windows above. And then that's off to the side of the kitchen and probably like a back door, I believe. So you've got 2 doors working in this space in this very tight area. Small spaces create challenges, and you just kind of have to, you're right, figure out the right balance of stuff without making it feel cluttered, but making the space feel functional and thoughtfully designed, like it was purposeful. I don't know specifically what your design styles are or how they differ. The only thing that I know is that your husband does not want a round table. And honestly, looking at the space, I don't think you need it. I think the rectangle is the right move. I think that that's what I would do. I think just off the top of my head, what would be really pretty in your dining room is actually building in like a banquette seating underneath the window. I love that look. I'll put in a few inspiration pictures. That was what we were thinking to do if we didn't do this full renovation. We were going to do that in our dining room. Right underneath the windows in an L shape, you can put banquette seating so it's more comfortable, especially if your son uses that space a lot. He can kind of climb up there, and sit, and you can sit right next to him instead of in a chair. And then you can have chairs on the other side. Your table could essentially fit more people because you could put a chair at the end and then 2 along the side and then the whole banquette, which I think would be so cool. I don't mind the blinds. They are very dark. So if you're wanting to incorporate more of that dark wood into the space, totally fine to keep them, but I would hang curtains. You need to optimize everything in the space to make it feel larger. And that goes with also raising the ceilings, giving the illusion that they are actually raised. Not that you're actually going to do that, but curtains are a great way to do that. If you hang them all the way at the ceiling, you can actually, give that illusion that it's taller. I would make it hang all the way down to the ground, off to the side. So I would actually extend the curtains past the window opening, closer to your back door, to make that space feel larger, and then let them hang all the way down. I naturally always want to put rugs to designate areas, and your space is pretty tight. I see you have a rug in your living room. You're kind of limited on how big that can be because of where the doors are and all of that. I think it would be a little bit uncomfortable to have another rug because of the size that it would have to be, but maybe think about that. Maybe, I don't know. I've never done a rug to have the whole space combined because I've always tried to designate the spaces. So that one was a little tricky for me, but it would add some warmth in that area if you had a rug underneath the table. Obviously something that is easy to clean, maybe like a ruggable rug that you can throw in the washer. And in small spaces, you mentioned like not wanting to put more stuff to make it feel cluttered, make it feel purposeful without feeling heavy. I would opt to do less artwork, less smaller pieces of artwork and more larger pieces, because that's also going to help the space feel larger, and you're going to see less on the walls. So where you have your 4 pictures above the couch, I would opt to replace that with maybe 1 large piece or 2 pieces that are the same size and they're larger. And then you can move some of those pictures, just off to your like this side of your TV or something like that. And the ceiling fan, I don't like ceiling fans at all. I don't like wind, like air, like blowing around, especially if you have central AC and you don't need it for that purpose. So I always opt to replace them with prettier fixtures, just lights in general. So if you can and you can replace the fan, I would definitely do that. And if you wanted to warm it up and make it feel less like a white box, you can totally paint the walls in whatever style. Go through your styles, blend them with your husband, pick a paint color that you're both happy with, because I think the pieces that you have are great. Like your couch and your table are the right size. So if you were to build the banquette, it would pull your table out a little bit, so it would make it feel even bigger. So it's all the right size, and you've already got the chairs. I think just adding a few things could make you feel like it's definitely more purposeful. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I feel like I've enjoyed so much doing these design dilemmas and seeing your own spaces and, getting to just be helpful in that way. I've also loved the structure of these new podcast episodes. It is a lot more legwork on the back end. Like I'm really diving in and really gathering my thoughts before every episode, which I think is great because I feel like they're more helpful that way, and really figuring out how we execute renovations or projects or design anything, and so they're a little more structured. So I hope you guys have been enjoying them, and please comment and let me know if you have. You can watch all the videos on YouTube as well. So definitely check it out if you want to see any of the pictures from the spaces. And if you want to submit your own design dilemmas or topic ideas for the podcast, I leave the form in the show notes or the description of every YouTube video so that you can submit your own, and you can send in pictures and what you're struggling with, and I'd like to do 2 to 3 dilemmas every episode. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week and going into the weekend, and I will see you guys in 2 Wednesdays. Bye guys.